So today we got Coach O and Coach Parks with us. Neither one of us on the podcast yet. Coach Parks is new. We talked to him about him for the last 4 weeks. Everybody knows Coach O. I guess we'll start with Coach Parks. You want to do your introduction first?
Yeah. I'm from Watonga. Grew up in a Class A town. We have one stoplight that doesn't work. I coached at Watonga last 3 years. Then I've worked at other schools. Like I worked at Elgin for a year. I coached at Northwestern. I've done some internships for strength and conditioning, and now I'm back in. Thank God I'm back in Elgin. I'm very blessed to be here.
We're happy to have you too, for sure.
What exactly positions are you coaching?
I'm coaching D-line, and I'm helping with tight ends with Coach Wyatt.
Okay, cool. Coach O?
Yeah, I grew up in California, and then freshman year I moved over to Rush Springs and was coached by Tim Beard, who's one of the GOATs, so I'm grateful for that. Then I did some volunteering and coaching at Surreal in Maysville, and been here for the last 4 years. And I coach DBs. Started out just D-line assistant, O-line assistant. My first year didn't have a big role, and the last 3 years I've been DB coach. So
Let's talk about, I guess we can talk about last week's game a little bit.
Right. We had like 19 penalties. We started off kind of slow, especially that first drive.
Yeah.
I know Coach Castro was upset. First drive we punt, so I know he was upset, and we finally turned it around going after that. And a few of our kids, like Jace, man, he had 8 pancakes in the first half.
Right.
That's unheard of. And thank God we got that man. And everything started rolling after that first series. Like we kind of got a late start.
Yeah, we had a good play to start the game, 15, 20 yards out of meeting, and then, like I said, kind of a 3 and out. Not what we expected. I know it was a long road trip, and everybody talks about some of that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, then after that drive, we scored on pretty much every drive after that the ones were in at least. But we talk about the defense a little in that one. We talked about Jason on the offensive side of the ball, but first half, negative 19 yards rushing or something along those lines. So
Yes.
I know you're a D-line guy. Talk about how much that D-line affects the running game with their penetration and kind of individually talk about Tristan, Jace, and Shay, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Jace always, that's the man that always takes the double teams to place our nose guard, zero technique, man. He's a big blessing in my life because he does all the little things right on the field and off the field, and very unselfish. Makes the whole team better because he's taking up a double team so Ritson and Colin can go make a play,
Right.
And he's not giving up a yard. Like when he's getting double teamed, he's going to set the line of scrimmage and let the people know that he's playing nose. I know he might have been the happiest man on earth last 2 weeks ago when he got sacked.
Finally.
Yeah, you just see him jumping around, hooping and hollering. It was awesome. It's such a good deal to see him finally get that. That means a lot to him.
Right.
It means very much. And
Talk a little bit about Shay. Shay obviously had a great game against Newcastle, but had a very good game again. And talk about what he means to the defensive front and how athletic he is.
He's the best football player on the football field when he wants to be.
Yeah.
Very high football IQ. I thank God every day that he's playing for the Elgin Owls. Very blessed. I get to be around him. Man, I wish Oklahoma State and Tulsa and OU would come over here and take a damn look at him. It'd be great because he can play.
Right.
And you should see this man on one-on-ones versus Ant. He makes people look silly.
Right.
He's a very explosive with his hips, with his hands, very good eyes. He's very good. Like I said, I wish OU and Tulsa would come and take a look at him, man. If he was 6'4", it'd be a whole different story. Like he's a man among children.
Yeah, if he's 6'4", he's getting the publicity, I think, and the looks kind of like Ant is and Jace is. It's unfortunate. But, sometimes some of those type of kids fall on the radar and, prefer to walk on somewhere.
Yeah.
He's got the ability with the state programs and some of that stuff to be a preferred walk-on one of those places. And if he takes that route, I mean, I think, like you said, Tulsa, OSU, one of those guys are going to get a very good football player.
Yeah, if he just does that every play, he can do it.
Yeah.
He can go.
And then obviously the new one that are kind of new to people and, I mean, has really stepped up his game is Kephart. I mean, talk a little bit. I mean, he's another one that's kind of a, not playing until he's a senior, but now, I mean, he's kind of exploded on the scene a little and kind of another freak athlete. Yes. Really put it down to it.
Yes, that man does not take a play off. He's a yes sir, no sir. Since the spring, since I've got here, he's gotten so much better. Like this past week, he got the defensive player of the game. Yeah, 4 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and he did his job every play. That man does not take a play off, and I really appreciate that. I'm very blessed that I get to coach him. He's a yes sir, no sir guy. He's a great kid.
That's all. Yeah, I mean, and that goes a long way in making those kids, like I said, coaching them. I mean, like I said, you coach at other places and whatnot. Walking in, I mean, when you took the job, I know you've been an eligible before, but walking in prior to, I mean, I know we're 4 games in, but I mean, it had to be probably an easy decision walking in when you didn't know much about Tristan maybe, but you watched any film and you saw Jason Shea and goes, okay, that's 2 of the 3 that I get to work with.
Yeah.
Probably made the decision a little bit easier to take the job.
Yes. Yeah. Made my life a whole lot easier. And Coach Baker's done an amazing job with them. And Coach Baker is like one of the better coaches I've been around. He's like the wizard. He's over there calling the defense, waiting until the very last second to call it. And he does a really great job. He's a great human to be around. Like, he makes me better as a human just being around him.
Talk a little bit, since we're kind of on the D-line right now, talk about what the D-line does for you guys in the back end. I mean, how it potentially makes those guys, the fullback there, kind of their job a little bit easier.
Yeah, it makes our job incredibly easy with the pass rush they get and stopping the run game even. I mean, getting them into situations where we know they have to throw it.
Yeah.
But the pass rush they get is really unreal. And, like last year we had Jack Ainsley, obviously.
Right.
And I was kind of worried going into this year, like, man, he's going to be the pass rusher for us. And all 3 of them stepped up. And it takes your coverage down from 8 seconds down to 5 or 4.
Right.
I mean, it's incredible.
I mean, for those listening, I mean, when you talk football, I mean, the difference there in 2 to 3 seconds is huge.
Yeah.
Especially when you play a quarterback that has some athletic ability, kind of like we saw with Newcastle there when they put that other guy in at the second half. When they can run around like that, it makes it almost impossible for DBs to stick to those guys. So, I mean, only having 3 or 4 seconds, what's the difference between 4 seconds to 7 seconds? Those listening out there, it's a huge difference. I mean, it makes a ton of difference. I mean, in that period of time, receiver can run another 10 yards, can break out on an out route or some of that type of stuff. But the amount of penetration that the defensive line gets, I mean, it helps you guys back. I mean, because the quarterbacks have to get rid of the ball way before he wants to a lot of times. And I mean, you'll see it in games. I mean, kids aren't even it's one thing when kids aren't breaking out the routes and the quarterback's putting it right there, but I mean, the kids aren't even breaking out the routes and he's having to get rid of it and he's bouncing the 5 yards short because he can't step into it and some of that type of stuff. And that just makes it easier for the DBs. And I mean, it's a testament to how good that front is. Not only just those front 3, but I mean, that when you add in Colin and you add in Ritson and Phillips doing a great job on the outside as well. And Braxton just doing a very good job on the outside too. But Phillips kind of that designated rusher as well. So those 4 are kind of getting pressure on the quarterback. I mean, helps the DBs a ton, helps Colin and Ritson run free. Like I said, Jace taking on the sub teams, lets those guys run free. I mean, Jace doesn't get as much publicity on the defensive side of the ball because he doesn't, like you said, only has the 1 sack and doesn't make a ton of tackles. But if you ask Colin Ritson, who's the most important person on the defense,
Favorite player, Jace Williams.
Right.
No doubt.
Because Jace will just reach out and set up 2 guards, and now those 2 can run free.
Makes us look good. Makes me look like I know what I'm doing.
Oh, you want to talk about some of your defensive backs? I know, we've seen a lot of growth.
Yeah, week 0 was definitely – I was worried about it, man. I was really nervous just because Arthur's got a ton of talent over there.
Right.
We ended up kind of running that nickel package, which made it a little easier on us. And how we still defended the run out of that was crazy. I mean, those dudes are front. And so that's just another way to help us. We get into 5 DBs on the field and we still stop the run. I mean, they're just really good. But yeah, I mean, the DBs we got Josh coming back as a 2-year starter now, and he's come a long way. I know we went up to Falls Creek with him, and him and Mike kind of had a good moment of Josh kind of releasing some of that younger brother syndrome, and Mike. It was an awesome moment, man. And really since then, Josh has been a completely different person.
Yeah,
that weight off his shoulder, and he's just coming to his own. He doesn't have to be Mike's little brother anymore. He can just be Josh, and that's probably been the best thing for him.
Well, and you can see it too this year. Like I said, last year, I mean, Mike was such a force. Mike wasn't a very vocal kid necessarily. He was in the locker room and on the field and stuff, but outside of that, he wasn't a very vocal kid. But Josh was, like you said, just a little brother. But now, even at practice, you can see he's taken on much of a leadership role and kind of stepped into that, Mike role to a certain degree for those DBs back there. It's cool to see because both of them are awesome humans.
Yes.
So is Caleb, and I mean, look, like I said, that goes through. That's a testament to their parents, the way that they raise those kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, Josh did a great job. And Bryce won the job. Talk a little bit about Bryce. I mean, coming in, that 5'5", 5'3", 5'4", whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Coming into that MacArthur game, kind of got picked on a little, told that they were going to do some damage to him, and nothing. He stepped up to it, got a pick 6 of the season, and done a great job after winning that spot in the spring.
Yeah, Bryce he's a character that's different than what I'm used to, and it's not bad about him. He's got this confidence and this swagger that's I'm used to kind of reassuring my kids and kind of let them know what's coming maybe. And I'm used to a yes sir, I understand. But he's just man, I hope they do this. Every time. And it's just different, but man, he's got that, like I said, he's got that swagger, and I'm glad that they called him out week 0 because I think he needed that fuel he rises to the occasion. And super blessed to have him, man. He plays way bigger than 5'5", but that's what he is. So,
right.
But he's got a really good job playing through the hands and not trying to jump ball. We don't really want him going up with a 6-foot receiver. And he's kind of learned where to be. He's been pretty physical in the run game, which is awesome. And so, yeah, he kind of won that job late between him and Gabe. And I was pushing on him all summer. Hey, someone's got to win it. And it just kind of came down to the scrimmages. And Bryce ended up taking it away, which ended up happening last year with Trey Harris, too. Right. He didn't have it won until the scrimmages. So. Right. I guess I need to get used to that happening.
You'll have to replace Josh next year. That's right. But,
and Hunter.
Yeah,
people ask me now, who do you think is going to be? So I guess I'll figure out August. After we have our first scrimmage.
Talk a little. So we kind of talked about those two. Talk about, obviously having 2 guys that have started now for 3 years at safety. When we talk about those 2 guys and how well they play off of each other as safeties. They both of them have their strengths.
Yeah.
They both, like I said, kind of combine together. And it makes them, like I said, to me, and I say this all the time on the podcast, 2 best safety, the best tandem probably in 4A, if not the state, with the way that they play.
Yeah, they definitely could be. 3-year starter, that's something that you just can't, it has nothing to do with athleticism or anything. Just, you can't get that. It's either you've had experience or you don't. And I'm still getting to coach them and still getting to fix them on some things, but a lot of the time I probably don't have to. I just want to make them perfect. But, man, they're really good. And it's cool to see Josh and Hunter. They were on the same side, and they were talking all practice and talking about the game, talking about what they see. And they coach each other, know. And then Brody and Hunter kind of do the same thing, and it just kind of goes kind of like telephone around each other. So, but dude, having those 2 back there is incredible. Safety's probably the most, you probably have to be the most disciplined to play safety out of any position because you're in the run fit, you're over the top, you got to come down. It's really tough. And so I always tell my kids, we need to play 4 perfect quarters, and obviously no one's perfect, and you can't play a perfect game, but you have to be perfectly locked in, perfectly, disciplined the whole game. And that's what you get out of Brody and Hunter.
Well, with as much football as they've played, they can kind of go back in that Rolodex of their mind and be like, oh, this is week 2 when I was a sophomore, and things like that, because they played so much football. We talk about it all the time on the offensive side with Trace, but it helps a ton for Hunter. Like I said, the Brody next year is going to be a 4-year starter at that spot. So, by now, like I said, things probably, and we talked to Hunter a little bit last week, things now are slowing down for him. So things that were 2 years ago, oh crap, are now, okay, I've seen this 10 times, I've seen this 20 times or whatever. I mean, talk a little bit about that the more football you play, I mean, kind of what that does to you as a coach too, because you know that there's really nothing out there that they haven't seen yet.
Yeah. It is pretty funny. Like, I remember 2 years against MacArthur when we first played in at Cameron, I was so worried about Hunter, like they were running the cold on him. Like, I hope they don't pick on Hunter because I guess I just didn't trust him as much as I should have. And just not being around him growing up, knowing that he's that good of an athlete. But he's kind of a better athlete than he looks.
Yeah.
He was. And now, obviously, everyone knows him, and he's a fantastic athlete. But, yeah, man, I was watching Woodward. I told him today I was grading the Woodward film, and I know where Hunter is. He's a right safety. And I was like, who is that? It just didn't look like him. And he just said he was confident. And so just playing that way and seeing things over and over again, he just starts to you get well versed in it. But yeah, man, he's really stepped up. And another deal about him, like I used to worry about how much he really loved football, just because I know he was such a big wrestling guy. Right. It was kind of his second sport, and like probably last year against El Reno was really when he just had a great game, was flying around the field, being selfless. And I told him to film the next week. I said, "That's a kid that loves football. I don't want to hear anything else ever again." Yeah. And he loves it, man.
I fell in love with him his sophomore year in that MacArthur game.
Yep.
Like I said, I mean, during the season, you didn't know what you kind of had, and then he had a little bit of a stinger or whatever, and, 120 pounds or whatever he weighs, and then came back like it was nothing from a stinger, and made huge plays at the end for us to win that game. And that's kind of when I fell in love with him. My wife fell in love with him too. It was like, who is that kid? And I need to know who number 10 is. Her brother played safety, so she kind of looks at the safeties and things like that when it comes to that stuff. And that's when I was like, okay, this kid, I mean, for being 105 pounds, soaking wet, or whatever he is, I mean, comes down to the box and does, like I said, you look at him and Brody and go, okay, well, your strong safety is Brody, and, no. I mean, and then, like I said, I mean, the run fits that he does, I mean, especially in that Woodward game, I mean, he was down on the box a lot with the way that they ran their offense. And then it was some outside stuff and whatnot, but I mean, he doesn't mind getting dirty. I mean, a lot of that comes from the wrestling background, but he doesn't mind getting dirty and kind of playing in that box. And you don't see that from 20-pound kids. Yeah. But Bryce is the same way, too. I mean, they don't mind getting dirty. And like I said, a lot of it, we talked a ton about it last week with the wrestling side of it. A lot of that comes from that. Yeah.
I know during the spring, I was like, who's this kid? Who's this soaking wet 120-pound kid? I was like, God, he can play. At first, I was like, what the hell? Right. Then he can play. I was like, oh my gosh! After that Carl Roberts scrimmage, I was like, oh Lord, he can play. Yeah. I was like, I get you, coach.
Yeah, and I mean the defense now. I mean, like I said, we lost Jack, we lost Mike last year, but I mean, all these kids now have played a ton of football. Right. So I mean, we talk about it with Coach Baker when he's on as well. I mean, that just makes, like you said, makes you guys look better. It makes your job a little bit easier because there's things that you can talk to them about that you might not be able to talk to a freshman the same exact way, right. Yes. About some of that type of stuff. And I mean, like I said, eventually we're going to lose all these kids. But at the end of the day, we still have, a bunch coming back next year. And the way that we're set up now, too, with the way, we've taken care of business in these first 4 games. I mean, 2s and 3s didn't necessarily get a ton of work against MacArthur, but the last 3 games, I mean, those kids playing in meaningful games. And we talk about, like I said, I mean, Colin and Trace and all those guys had to take their lumps as freshmen in real time. And I mean, now these kids, like I said, we talk about it all the time, building the program. Talk about what that means for your young kids that are out there playing, meaningful minutes in Friday night games, and talk about how that's helping build the program and some of that type of stuff.
You want to? By example, for me, I'm hoping that Caleb Addersola, he's watching Shay how to do things, just the little things, have good eyes, striking your tackle when you're reading your guard with the guard box down, you're getting inside. And I'm telling you, I want to talk about Caleb because he's a freshman and he's playing, and he's giving us a scout team look, and he's going against his aunt. And Caleb's probably 170 pounds tops.
Right.
And he's giving them fits. He plays hard every play, and like it's just leading by example.
Yeah.
And they do. I mean, they're doing a great job. Like those kids are looking up to them, and they're setting expectations, and it's been a real good gig for us.
Well, and what we hear too all the time, like I said from a lot of the other coaches that have been on here, is most of these kids that are now juniors and seniors that took those lumps when they were freshmen and whatnot are now coaching just as much as you guys are.
Mm-hmm.
They're coaching, those freshmen and sophomores and things like that. And, hey, this is how I do it, some of that type of stuff. I mean, for a coach, it's got to be a cool environment because sometimes you get those seniors that are, pre-Donald's a little, I've been there, done that. I don't have time for you. They're freshmen. Right. But I mean, that's a testament, to the coaching staff. That y'all are, it's a testament to the parents and whatnot as well as raising good humans. But I mean, also that the culture that y'all have created that not that it's expected, but that they're willing to go there and want to do that because they care about, the program and legacy that they need.
Part, speaking of the kids that took their lumps, the last time you was here, they was the kids taking the lumps. How's that coming back and seeing them now?
It's been night and day. Like these kids, I mean, I think the kids have, like, the culture's definitely changed, and we're reaping the benefits from it, and just pressing forward.
It's easy as a coach to see the big picture when it's happening, but it's a lot harder for them kids to see it, I feel like. And now they're reaching the rewards of their hard work. And like y'all just mentioned, the younger kids are seeing that and they're like, I'm up next. So the seniors that are going, I'm up next. I'm going to put in the same work and do the same to the young kids coming up,
Yeah.
Well, that goes a long way. And I mean, it's what we talk about every week on this thing. I mean, we're building a program and not just a, 2024 Belgian Owls.
Right.
The 2024, the 2023 class was awesome. 2022 class, kind of got us out of that purgatory, I guess you can say a little. And it's just building and building and building. I mean, that goes to Coach Wyatt, everything he's done. Mraz, Laura, I mean, the administration kind of buying in as well. I mean, it's a cool thing to watch and see. Like I said, I'm involved in the program to a certain degree, but as an outsider, it's like, okay, this is a cool deal.
That's a testament to like the low league. They know how things go. Like Coach Rao, I guarantee he's doing a great job with those kids. Like he's coaching his kids, and I mean, these kids know how we do things, and like it's just a great deal by that.
All right, so week 4 on Earth, we start the 5th captain, Kobe Morton.
He's a guy you want on your side, man. He's obviously a big bruiser kind of guy, always where he needs to be in practice, never afraid to give us a good look. And he's tough as nails, man. He's funny. He's one of the funnier kids we have, too, which, he used to give you a hard time and stuff. And he's a great kid.
Great kid in the weight room, man. Like, he can lift. Like, he's a hard worker. Like,
and you see that. I mean, he's thick. And
if he was anywhere else on this earth, he would be starting.
Yeah.
Man, it's such a blessing to have it. Like, like when the twos go in, I'm like, thank God Kobe's going to be in. He's going to be in there, ready to go. Like we're not dropping down very much. Like, right. Because he just has some fruit daddies in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that sucks for him and kind of Kaysen. I mean, I know one of them is Kaysen's brother, but I mean, when you start looking at those inside linebackers, those 4, I mean, Kaysen and Kobe could probably start for just about anybody else in our district.
It should be.
Right. But they just, like I say, got a bad hand that just behind 2 freaks.
Yeah.
Kobe, I mean, Kobe's a senior, so I mean, that kind of, like I said, but the one thing that you got to love about him, and the one thing obviously you guys as coaches love about him by naming him the 5th captain, is he understands that he's not that starter, but he still, gives you that look when you need to on scout team if he has to. I mean, most seniors would say, screw you, I'm not doing scout team. But he's still willing to do that. He's the first one out there on every special teams and things like that. I mean, still providing a lot to the team. Because like I said, a lot of seniors who put their head down, and the world we live in today, or transfer portal, whatever, like, I want somewhere else to play. But I mean, he stuck it out, and it means a ton to the team. So like I said, I mean, you can't ask for anything more from a kid that's not a starter on that end.
Practice player of the week, Braden Jones.
Oh, Braden Jones, man, the hardest worker on the football team. He gets our whole team better. Like I said, like if he was anywhere else in Class 4A, he'd be a starter. And he's just such a good blessing to be around. Like he just goes hard every play. He makes Ant better. He makes our tackles so much better. Like during practice, I don't have to worry about getting somebody in and like giving a look. And he's giving a great look. He's giving his best every play. And there's no doubt that he should probably be the practice player of the week every week. And he works extremely hard. It's going to pay off soon. I told him that. Like, dude, keep your head up. It's going to pay off. You're going against the best offensive line during practice, during inside run, or during TMO. Like, you're going against the best. This is going to make you so much better in the long run. We just got to work on a few things. It's not running upfield and still on a pulling block. Other than those things, man, he is top of the line.
Did he get the sack last time in the JV game?
He did.
Is he a sophomore, junior?
He's a junior.
Okay. Because when that second team D-line comes in, him, New, and Hudson Beckley, I mean, those three could, like you said, start a lot of other places.
Yes.
And they pop, like him and New kind of pop with those twos, like I said, with the amount of penetration that they can get, and they look the part too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Tucker's going to be a good one day.
Yeah.
And he's just a sophomore. He's a big part of our program. Like when we need a scout look, man, he gets out there and does his best. It just needs a little bit more confidence.
Yeah.
Just doing the right things, and he just needs more confidence in himself. Like I believe in him 110% that he's going to do great things for Elgin. It's going to
I wholeheartedly agree. I've called him, he's only sophomore, but I called him poor man Jack.
Yeah,
to a certain degree.
He play.
Yeah, he looks a little
just like him. I'm like,
dang. He's not as Tucker. Yeah, he's not as wiry. Yeah, and he's not as like Gumby. I mean, Jack looked like he was getting just destroyed at every play, and in some kind of way would
make the play.
Yeah, make the play.
Yeah,
but Tucker's got a lot of that in him. And then, like I said, on the other side, I mean, Braden, like I said, looks the part when he's out there. And then, like I said, at practice, I mean, it's always kind of, who's that kid? Who's that kid? So looking forward to him getting some more playing time. And what they need with those kids, I mean, with the reps that they're getting and the tape that they're putting on, I would think, I mean, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I mean, Shea plays every single play on offense. Jace plays every single play on offense. But, I mean, the way that they've been stepping up recently, I mean, it's got to give you a little bit of confidence that, hey, let's get it, I know you don't want to take Shea out, you don't want to take Jace out because they're so important, but the way that those two have been playing, Hudson Beckley kind of in that middle part, I know he plays offense too, but to give those guys a break, I mean, you got to feel confident about putting those guys in.
I definitely agree with you. Tucker's he's gonna be a great one day, and I don't think he knows that yet, but I believe in him wholeheartedly that he's gonna be a great one.
Awesome,
especially and Hudson as a sophomore. He's a very strong, very quick. You should see this man in the shoots. He stays low and like he's gonna be the man. The future's very bright. He's just a fireball at nose guard. One day he's going to start every play, just like Jay's and just like Shea. And the thing with Hudson, he can play with anywhere. He's very multiple. He can play all three spots for us. Such a great kid. He's been a blessing to be around because he's yes sir, no sir, and he gets after it. Very strong as a sophomore, man.
When you saw that with him playing got a little nervous last year that he was going to have to play that guard spot as a freshman, and then who cares if he's a freshman?
He can go.
And then, like I said, all summer, all I heard about was he's power cleaning the weight room. He's squatting ridiculous.
270, 285. Good Lord.
As a sophomore, as a freshman, as a D-line offensive lineman.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive and very unheard of. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, and he's done a great job again at guard. And last year didn't see much on the defensive side of things, but when he goes in there, again, you look up and you go, "Oh, that was Jace." Oh, we go, that was 59, that's 58. And I mean, he's, playing just like that. Like I said, maybe a little bit, like you said, I can see him playing all three of them because he's maybe a little bit quicker than Jace.
Yeah, he's an ideal forte.
Yeah.
Black flag bearer, Chase Spencer.
Yeah, I mean, not much has to be said there. He's dominant. He's a freak, man. Plays his heart out. If he wanted to, every play he'd make it. He'd get him in the backfield. I think there's not enough you can say about Shea.
And I mean, we got several alphas on the team, but Shea likes to be that alpha. Likes to have the attention to a certain degree.
Yeah.
He
The boss, huh?
yeah, he'll likes to sit back some, but I mean, he also, he wants the spotlight to a certain degree. You gotta love that.
When you squat 500 pounds, you can be like, yes, sir.
You can do whatever you want to a certain degree.
Yes. Happy to have him around.
Makes your job a little bit easier.
Offense player of the week, Trace Flora.
Trace had a good game, man. Honestly, I don't get to focus a ton on offense because I'm trying to staff stuff on defense. But
12 for 13.
12 for 13.
Yeah.
How many touchdowns he threw?
4. So he's won. So he threw 4. He's 1 away from tying his brother, and 2 away from breaking his brother's. I think 57 will tie. Career touchdowns will tie it. Will take the lead for all-time passing touchdowns in Elgin high school football history. We can maybe get that this week during homecoming. But yeah, I mean, I know you guys don't coach offense and things like that a lot, but Trace doesn't play anything with quarterback, which is understandable because that's 95% of the time that's what most quarterbacks do.
Yeah.
But talk about how him running, the scout team 7-on-7 drills and your starting quarterback against your starting defense, and how that makes your guys back there in the back better. And, they're going good on good pretty much all the time. You might not necessarily have those starting receivers out there, but you still got a 4-year starter running your scout team quarterback at 7-on-7. I mean, it's got to help you guys out.
He tears us up, and sometimes he really pisses me off. He's really good, man. And like today, we were just doing some half-line stuff, and I let him call every offensive play. And just to allow him to do that so I can talk to my DBs is awesome. And, of course, he was cooking up some good concepts against what we had, and it was kind of like, all right, Trace.
Enough's enough, brother.
Yeah.
He's going to be a great coach one day.
If he wants to be. He's a man. I love going against him. I like to chirp at him a little bit when we pick him off. He chirps back at me a little bit when we score. So it's good. I like him. Good relationship there.
Well, it's funny, too. Like, he's really taken on a lot more of that leadership role this year. I mean, Trace is not a vocal kid. And last year, it was kind of you wanted him to be, but that's just not him. But this year, I think he's kind of taken it upon himself a little bit more to kind of, okay, this is my last rodeo. He's a coach's kid. I mean, he's been around it his entire life. And I mean, I think he realizes, hey, this is it as far as being an owl. I think he's got the ability to go play at the next level for sure. Whether that happens or not, I mean, again, that's up to college coaches who need to get down to Elgin and kind of see some of these kids a little bit more. But he's really kind of like Josh, and he's another one that has really taken a big step in that leadership role, and becoming a little bit more vocal. But not only just the vocal part of it, but I mean, his first one there, last one to leave, takes even some of the young kids he goes out there and throws with before and after practice and things like that. I mean, it's cool to see kind of him getting more mature and better as a football player. I mean, I'm a quarterback by nature, so I mean that's what I always like to look and watch at. I mean, like I said, he's doing a great job. I mean, so far this year, 4 games in, he's doing a great job. I mean, he's got 2 picks on the year, 13, 14 touchdowns, ton of yards, and his completion percentage is up. So, yes, everything starts with the offensive line on the offensive side of things, but we'll only go as far as he'll take us.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think he finally gets that and is willing to embrace that.
Special teams player of the week, Brody Morrison.
Brody Morrison, man.
Freak athlete,
no doubt. I know Coach Castro always gave me heck. At first, I didn't know who Brody Morrison was. Then, like that Cole Albert scrimmage, and you see him score these touchdowns. I'm like, ooh, I found out who Brody Morrison was. I'm like, yeah, that boy can play. he did a great job for us on special teams. Boy plays hard, gets after it.
He needs to get in the end zone.
Yes.
He almost had one. He got one called back. He almost got in on the long pass. I gave him a little bit of help before the game because he's one of the only ones that hadn't got in yet. He's going to get in eventually.
Oh, yes.
So during the game, so Adam's been trying to get him a touchdown. So during the game, when we got called back, Adam's like, man, I feel so bad for that guy, you know. And Coach Rao, pretty calm voice, said, man, don't feel bad. He's a fast white boy. And he looks like Tom Brady.
Blessing, baby.
Yeah, he's going to be all right.
And he's on your junior. So you get him back. I mean, like I said, especially this week, and we talked a little bit about it. What does he mean to that defense? I mean,
Well, first off, with the special team deal, he finally catches the punts, which is good.
yeah.
That's been rough to watch back there. But anyways, dude, back there is I wouldn't want anybody else, and just a relationship I have with him. I'm pretty close with a lot of those DBs, but I sit next to him in church every Sunday with him and his family, and we get to kind of give him a hard time with his parents. You know, need to pick it up, need to do whatever. But he's a leader back there, and you know, he's coaching up Bryce. He's talking with Hunter, and I could sit back. Like I was gone for a week because I was sick. I didn't have to worry about it. You know,
Right.
like I can sit back, and I probably should a little more than I do because I like to coach them on everything. But
Right.
I could just sit back all practice, and then they would get it figured out. And just having him back there is awesome, man.
To me, I mean, he's a D1 safety. I mean, he's
Yeah, so-
athletic enough. I mean, I would, again, and he's got the size. And it's just like I said, he's only a junior. I mean, I know he's a very good baseball player, pretty good basketball player as well. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's a good receiver. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's a better safety than he is receiver. Sometimes, white safety doesn't always doesn't always sound good to some of those college coaches and whatnot. But he has the ability, and like I said, a freak athlete, one of the best athletes on our team. So it's fun to watch him on all three phases of the game. But yeah, I thought he was going to score on that one punt return, but like I said, we got to get him in the end zone sometime. Maybe he'll catch that touchdown for Tracy's record. It'll be more special.
But Brody's a guy too. Like I can kind of tell him what to anticipate, kind of tendencies, and he's real smart. I try to Hunter, and he's more of like, all right, just tell me what to do, and let me go make a play.
Yeah.
And Brody can kind of see around corners a little better.
Yeah.
And so he's fun to kind of coach on that deal. He knows what's coming when it line up in something.
And I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Brody has unbelievable. Him and Ritson kind of have that crazy athletic instincts.
Yeah.
They just kind of take their athletic ability. They let their athletic ability kind of make things happen where you're going, wait, he's in the wrong gap. Oh, okay, he should have been. It's kind of one of those coaches like, no. Oh, great. That's what I thought you to do. Because he kind of just lets his athletic instincts take over. Yeah. It might not be necessarily the right spot, but he sees it differently.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing from you're in the box. It's one thing to see it up there. You go, oh, he's in the wrong spot. But hey, that safety, that corner did this, or that DB, or that receiver did that. And I just knew that's where he was going. I think those two, like I said, Ritson and Brody on the defensive side of the ball, really use that to their advantage.
And what about Cordell last night? That play he made, dude. He went from inside to all the way back around.
Then he gives a shimmy, inside, outside, back inside. I'm like, oh my Lord. I showed my first starter class that move. Oh!
Well, they say just like he drew it up.
We drew that up.
That was unreal.
We coached it.
Cordell's one of those ones, when he uses all his hand, it's different.
Yeah.
And running routes, him in and out of those routes is Brody and Josh are great receivers, but they don't get in and out of those breaks like Cordell does.
God bless that man with some athleticism.
Yeah. He's only a sophomore, so like I said, and he's getting it. The more and more he gets to play, the more he's getting it. So it'll be fun to watch the next couple of years too.
He's got some growing up to do, just like every other sophomore. And just like being on the defensive side, it's hard to trust kids back there because if you mess up as a DB, everybody knows it. There's no one back there to help you. And so I'm hoping he can lock in on that defensive side for me. And then he comes in, he needed a couple of plays off after that jet. which makes sense. But then he comes in on the last drive of the JV game, went back to safety. Sage got it, but he was in, and he was getting all he had. So I appreciated that from him for sure.
Sharpen your ass, Colin Donald.
I believe that that's the leader of our team.
Yeah.
And he's our vocal leader.
He's your alpha.
Oh, yes.
100%.
100%. Like, he does all the right things. Very smart IQ football knowledge. Very smart. He leads our team by example. If somebody's slacking off, he'll let you know. He knows everything about our defense. The other day, like, for Ant, he was lined up wrong. Like, he's over there hitting his hip. Like, hey, get over here, get over here. Like, we got a bingo call. Like, move your butt over here. He just knows everything. Like, he's a very intelligent human, and he plays really hard. And there's another D1 player I think he can beat him. Like, the other D2 coaches or D1 AA coaches need to recognize that, I mean, he can play. Like, he can do this. Like, someone needs to take a chance on this man. Like, he can play. He's very savvy.
Well, and piggybacking off of what you said about with Coach Baker, like, he's the wizard and he waits until the last second.
Yes.
But a lot of that has to do with he knows he can wait as long as possible because he knows Colin is going to fix it if he's wrong or whatever. And I mean, when we talked to Coach Baker about that, I mean, he gives Colin that liberty because he's so savvy and so smart. And
Best linebacker in the state.
I mean, I would wholeheartely agree with you there. I mean, like I said, I know there's some big kids out there that have gotten some good offers and whatnot, but as a high school linebacker, 4-year starter, and like I said, I mean, when he wants to, he can take over a game. I mean, those last 2 games last year, Midwest City and then Piedmont, I mean, he absolutely, I mean, it was like 50-something tackles in those 2 games. And just absolutely took over because in Midwest City, he knew that's what we needed. And I mean, that game he had 28, 29 tackles, something obnoxious, but he knew that's what we needed. And like I said, a lot of it starts with Jace. And whatnot. I mean, by Tony Saragusa and holding everybody up and whatnot. Yeah, like I said, can't explain to our listeners enough what Colin does on the field to make everybody else better. And it's a fun thing to watch for a linebacker to control the whole team. And then even on the offensive side, when he's playing tight end, I mean, he's still that alpha and still, this, that, and the other. So it's cool to see him get in the end zone with a rushing touchdown as well during the game.
That was cool. We really put that in for Brody when he was in 7th grade, and so give that to Colin. That was kind of a full circle. That's cool. He really stepped up this summer, Colin. I feel like just like the other juniors that are really good, they knew they were really good, and so kind of off season, take it easy, quit coaching me, and a lot of them, but especially Colin this summer was locked in. No more of that. Grew up a lot and took a leadership role.
Well, I'm sure when he goes home, he hears all about it from his daddy.
And probably saying, hey, Brody's there now, you need to set that example.
And he does. It's funny to watch those two interact at practice. Him and his little brother. It's entertaining to watch. Colin's always got something up his sleeve for Brody, and Brody is just.
Brody's going to be a good one.
Yes, he's going to be
a great one. He just doesn't know it yet.
But I mean, it's going to be hard when you're a freshman and
a big shadow.
And when your brother's such a big force and things like that. I mean, it's got to be tough. So it'll be interesting to see where Brody goes. Once Colin's not that force that he is now, but he does a great job with the freshman team and has all through that little league group.
Rough Rider of the week, Jace Williams.
Oh, Jace Williams. Like I said, man, thank you, Jesus. I thank Jesus every day. He's been such a blessing, man. Like, not just on the football field, but off the football field, such a great human. He works very hard. Like I said, he takes those double teams. He helps everybody out, makes those linebackers look great, and
he's another one that's a coach out there too. I mean,
If you want to be a coach one day, he's going to be an amazing coach. Coach Baker has done such a great job with that D line. I feel like Coach White always said here's the keys to the Ferrari. Don't screw it up. I'm like, man, yes sir. But Coach Baker, man, like he's helped me out just coaching those guys, man. They know what to do and when to do it. I'm just there to. I'm like the sheep herder. I'm just keep going this way. I'm just thank God for those guys. Like Jace, man, 8 pancakes. He's a killer.
Yeah.
He's a menace. They should lock him up.
He had a really awesome summer. We kind of took over youth at the beginning of summer, and he was going there, but we didn't really talk much about it outside of that. And we took him to Falls Creek, and him and Hunter and Josh kind of all bonded and formed this little group. We talked about a lot of faith stuff with those, and we had this Bible study going on before Summer Pride every day. And we had some younger guys show up, like Sheldon.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really cool to see a leadership role from Jace and kind of take that step in his faith.
Well, I mean, Hunter talked about it a little bit last week when we were here. We talked about how him and Jay, and he said, like, when a big, important decision comes in my life, Jason's one of the first people I talk to about.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it just goes to show the type of human he is.
Yeah.
I mean, at Naval Academy's getting a phenomenal kid.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I mean, yeah, defense side of the ball, he does a phenomenal job. But like I said, offensively is where he's going to potentially make his money at the next level.
Defense player of the week, Tristan Kephart.
Tristan Kephart, I mean, like I said before, like he had 4 tackles and 2 tackles for loss. He did a great job of making everybody else better. Like he did his job. So if somebody was coming at him, like a guard, pulling guard was coming at him, he's going to spill it to the linebacker so Colin can make a play. Just doing all the little things right. Like this week, like 2 tackles for loss is not the biggest game in the world, but he did everything else right. That's a big deal for Tristan. Getting his eyes right, striking the tackle, getting inside. If the guard blocks down, he got inside. And his motor, that kid never takes a play off. It's such a great deal to watch. And like saying yes, sir, no, sir, anything that I say, I mean, he's just a great human. I love to coach Tristan. He's a good kid, and I probably should tell him that more.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing with him, watching him, is like you said, the motor. I mean, he never stops.
Never, like on the backside of plays.
Right, he's running things down. And
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, like he's shoo. Doesn't even matter if he screwed up or not. He's going to get up, shoo.
Right.
He's going to go beat after it.
And I mean, and he's another one. I mean, it gets maybe sometimes overshadowed because Shea is such a freak, but I mean, he's a freak athlete too.
Yes, he is
big. I mean, he's athletic. I mean,
yeah.
And like I said, it sometimes maybe gets overshadowed because Shea's such a force. Has been doing it for a couple of years, so you're more focused on Shea. But I mean, the more and more that Tristan gets snaps and the more he plays this year, the more you're like, that's a freak athlete too.
Yes.
And he's another one that has the potential to go with the next level.
Yeah, definitely play some D2 or maybe some D1 AA,
right.
UCO maybe.
Right. Because like I said, the motor's there and the athletic ability is there, and he's a good sized kid.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, he's really, like I said, coming into the season, Jack was like, how that was kind of that one spot. I mean, yeah, Andre Crabtree, but Jack was kind of that one spot on defense that you were like, where are we going to go?
Yeah.
And Tristan's done a phenomenal job of just kind of walking in there and really not skipping a beat and some of that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think last 2 weeks he's gotten so much better. Like I don't have to worry about him anymore because he's just doing such a great job.
Well, when you come in as a senior, you never really started before. I mean, you don't have that confidence probably, and I would think those first 2 weeks. I mean, playing MacArthur, I think that first week, I mean, a legitimate opponent. You know, he kind of opened his eyes a little and was like, I fit, I belong.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and once you realize I belong and I should be a starter, and I mean, that goes a long way.
He was playing defensive end for us, then like Jace kind of hurt his knee a little bit, maybe just tweaked it a little bit, like, hey, you're going to nose. He's like, okay, no problem. And I didn't have to worry about it. He did such a great job. And he's such a team player. I really do appreciate him because he works so hard.
And we talk about it all the time on this podcast. I mean, we got a great group of kids, so it's fun to, it's fun to, it's fun.
Humans.
Right.
They were such a blessing to be around.
Right. And I mean, they're all good football players and all that kind of stuff, but being the type of people that they are and learning the attributes and the things that you learn from football, they're going to be such good men, fathers, brothers, as they move forward in life. And I mean, a lot of that goes to you guys because you guys have done a phenomenal job, and it all starts with Coach White up top. But you guys do a phenomenal job of, embracing them. And I mean, as a coach, they're all your kids. So you know what I'm saying? I mean, y'all really. I know a lot of coaches say that, but they don't live it.
Yeah.
And you guys truly do live it. That's what makes it fun for us that don't have kids on the team and stuff like that. It makes it fun for us to cheer for you guys, and it's even more fun to watch you guys succeed with it too.
Like with Coach White, man, he's been a blessing in my life, letting me to come here to Elgin again, and it's been such a great deal. He's one of my best friends. He's a great coach. To work under, he has great qualities. Like one of the qualities I really appreciate about him, like his emotional intelligence. He knows how to read his kids. Like he's so good at that. Like before they walk in, like, hey, what's wrong? I can tell there's something wrong with him. Like he has a great emotional intelligence. He knows how people feel. He can understand. He can relate to people. He's really good at a people reader. He's really good at that. Like he knows what I'm thinking before I even think it. Like before I walk in the office, like when I walk in, he's like, I got you. Like it's been such a blessing to work under him. He's such a good guy, and he really is a good human and a great football coach.
Right.
He knows his X's and O's and does a great job with his tight ends and being head coach. I'm so happy to be here, man. Just
passed on him this week. Challenges of coaching for homecoming week.
Yeah, distractions, some of that kind of stuff.
I mean, with homecoming with me, that's not a big deal, but to those kids it might be. But I just hope they don't get distracted as floats and all the homecoming stuff, all the parades and all that. I Coach Wyatt, being a people reader that he is, that he knows how to control these kids and make sure I understand and control this and do this. Just make sure you do your job and let's get it done. Get focused on the game.
Right. At the end of the day, the homecoming stuff's fun. Yeah, and it's all great and wonderful, but at the end of the day, Saturday night homecoming dance is going to suck if you lose.
Oh, yeah.
So don't let those distractions. I kind of like that we do it before the game, so that way it's not in the middle of it.
Coach White gets us right. He's going to get everybody riled up.
Yeah, do what you need to do, for the next 20 minutes, but when we take the field at 6:45 or whatever, then turn that shit off and let's go.
Yeah.
So, keeping up any game plans or anything like that, what's your thoughts on Elk City at this point?
I think they're a physical team. I think they have a shot to mix it up in the district. They have a pretty good receiver. Number 3 is pretty good, and he can cause us some trouble if we don't give him respect. I think the only way they can score on us is that out and up, and we've been practicing it all week. So I think we're going to have a good game against them. But another story probably is just we're really good up front, and teams are going to struggle with that, and that's just the way it's going to be. But I think we can come out and dominate them as long as we do what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, they were a team that 3 years ago, they were in state championship games. I mean, some of those kids are still there. A lot of them are gone now, but I mean, they're a good football team. Yeah. I mean, they're coached well. They're big, they're physical. Yeah. But like you said, and we said this last week, I mean, at the end of the day, we're if we're Vegas, we're favored the next 6 weeks in the district. So we need to make sure that we're handling our own business, not not looking ahead to week 11 or 12 or whatnot, but keep playing to that standard that y'all talk about all the time in the locker room.
Oh yeah.
It was 6-3-0 last week, but I know there was adjustments that had to be made after that game. Yeah. The first drive, if we take another long road trip, I mean, we can't come out sluggish. Mm-hmm. There's always, Coach, you guys are always kind of, glass half empty type of people because that's the way coaches operate. So, because like I said, you can't play a perfect game. Yeah. So there's always something to improve on. And like I said, I mean, if we continue to improve, we just need to be playing our best football, week 9 and on.
They're good enough. If we give them a foot in the door, they're going to handle it.
Well, yes. And I mean, everybody on our schedule from here on out probably has that ability. But also at the end of the day, everybody from here on out on our schedule we're probably more talented than. Nothing against our district. I mean, it is what it is right now where we sit. I mean, we're also one injury away from going, oh shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we just need to keep living up and play into that standard and and get better every week. I mean, that's where we are right now.
Yep. Final words?
Yeah. So final words for me. It's gonna be fun. Homecoming. Hope everybody comes out to the parade. We're gonna start the broadcast a little bit early, so that way we can show you all the homecoming festivities on OSN. So we hope that you'll watch that there. We want you to be out there at the desk because, like Hunter said, there's no place like the desk. And so he's wrestled in front of all kinds of people at Jim Newark, but there's no place louder than the nest. So we want to make sure that we continue that home environment throughout the rest of the season and hopefully into the playoffs. So, like I said, big one. We're 1-0 right now. Want to go 2-0 in district. Like I said, it's going to make the dance way more fun on Saturday. If we're 5-0 going into that thing on Saturday. So, like I said, go Owls and come out and support, and let's keep this train rolling. We're 4 games into hopefully a 14-game journey, and there's a lot of football left to be played and a lot of things that could be happening. But the way we're rocking and rolling right now, couldn't be more proud of the kids, coaching staff, the fans. Just like I said, want to keep it rolling and see how far we can take this thing.
For me, is like for our offense, I really like to give a shout out to Coach Castro. Like, he's one of the best offensive line minds in Oklahoma. I really believe that. I mean, if his goal was to go coach at a Division I place, he could definitely do it. But his goal is to win a state championship here, and I thank God every day for that, man. He's one of my best friends, and I really appreciate him. With Coach O, like he learned under Coach Castro. I guarantee he's learned a lot of things under that man. And Coach O is a very valuable man in this teaching profession because he's teaching math. He can coach offensive line. He can coach corners. He can coach secondary. He can coach just about anything that you can imagine. And another testament to our offense is Coach Breeze, man. Such a good guy to be around. He's very funny, man. That guy is funny. He's so awesome to be around. Like, there's never a dull moment around the coach's office. It's so funny. He has such a great mind for the offense and so much experience and head coach experience. And I coached under him at Lawton High, and that man, he's a genius. He's a wizard under there, just like Coach Baker. I just don't work on the offense side as much. He's a blessing to be around too. And Coach Hill, being the strength guy, he has the best gig in the business. He gets to be in the weight room all day. He's a really good guy to be around. He knows a lot about strength conditioning. Any questions I have, I go to him. Like, you know a lot more than I do. I'm just happy to be here.
Coach O?
Yeah, man. I'll kind of talk about the coaches too. Just going off Coach Hill. He's really wise too, and he coached me my senior year of high school, so it was kind of a little relationship. Yeah. But man, I go to him for a lot of advice and spiritual and faith stuff, and he's been really helpful on that. And Coach Hughes in the office is kind of that one too. But and Coach Bake just teaching me a lot of stuff, and he'll teach you as much as you want to know. Really gotten a lot from him. Calling JV defense, he's always by my hip saying, hey, this is what they're doing. This is what I like to call against it. That's making me so much smarter, I feel like. And like you said, working under Castro was unreal, man. I can text him anything right now, and he answers me with his best advice. I'm just a great dude. And, Ral and Chalmer and going to church to all those guys, they make me a lot better person. And I'm really thankful to be here also. I really was just going to talk about Park and kind of break the bro code there because, dude, he's a phenomenal person. He might be my favorite one. Just the way he came in, kids just loved him, man. They just rallied around him, and we can coach football all day long, but if we're not reaching those kids, then we're not doing our job. Park he loves those kids. He reminds them that we're blessed, and that's something that we forget a lot of time. And Park is so valuable, man. Like I said, in those kids' lives, and I don't think he realizes it. Being happy all the time like he is, even though he's fighting through some back pain and whatnot. But just being that guy for those kids It's super valuable, man. So I appreciate you coming and being that guy for them. But yeah, thankful for the kids we got. I love coaching my DBs. They're my dudes. Getting to spend some intentional time with them.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. The best advice I've probably ever given was from Coach Wyatt, which is be where your feet are. When I first got here, I kind of struggled being just an assistant here, an assistant there, and I was like, man, I really want to roll. And he just kept reminding me, like, it'll come, be where your feet are. And I got to coach under some great dudes, and I'm pretty happy where I'm at now. So thankful for them.
I want to piggyback on one thing. I mean, enjoy this time if you're an Elgin fan. I mean, we talk about it a lot on this podcast. I mean, it's a great time to be an Owl. All the sports programs, the school is what the school is. I mean, we've all had a great academic reputation and whatnot. But right now, the athletic program, I mean, things are rolling. So enjoy this time of being an Owl and enjoy, like I said, to a certain degree as an insider, the coaching staff and the families and the things that are around this 2024 Owl team. You couldn't ask for better coaches, parents, kids. I mean, they're great coaches, they're great parents, they're great kids, but they're all phenomenal human beings, and that should give you even more reason to support everything that's going on right now in Elgin Owl football. And like I said, I want to thank you guys a ton for joining us and kind of telling us a little bit about yourselves and kind of learning a little bit more about you guys. But yeah, if you're an Owl fan, I mean, the program is being run by phenomenal men, and that's leading to obviously wins on the field, but also leading to good humans and good kids as these kids graduate and move on in real life.
Thanks everybody at Sports Podcast.
As always, go Owls.
That's right.
Amen.
If you like this podcast, go to the Mr. Bean patron website and make a donation. The link will be in the description.